Yeah. How about that?
Thank you.
How about that right there, huh? Okay, we're not done yet. I just want to talk to him for a couple of minutes here. First of all, David, Zach, the rest of you guys, I want to thank you so much for coming out here and playing Concert for Kids for us this last year. It was an amazing night.
It was.
Quite frankly, don't tell the other bands, but you guys were the highlight. And I'm not just saying that because you're up here on stage right now.
Wow, thank you.
It was just fantastic and for a great cause, so we do thank you so much. I almost feel like we should have beignets with the wine this morning, just in honor of New Orleans.
All right, we'll take it. Next time.
I had not been to New Orleans until a couple of years ago. My wife, Haley, said we need to go there for my birthday, and what was I going to say? No?
Definitely not.
And man, that is such a music-rich town. Sonic Highways had just come out, the Dave Grohl documentary, and when we watched the New Orleans one, I was like, man, I cannot believe all the things I didn't even know about the music in New Orleans. So tell me a little bit about what it was like, growing up in New Orleans and being around that.
Well, I'll just say, we all actually are transplants, so we've only been there about 10 years. So that's actually it's a common thing that most people think, because we say we're from New Orleans. We are from New Orleans. The band is from New Orleans. So, I will say that being in New Orleans for the past 10 years, I mean, literally the first year that I was there, I mean, it gets in there fast. And any turn of the hat, you can see George Porter Jr. at the Maple Leaf on a Thursday. One of the best bassists alive, basically. Have anybody heard of the band The Meters? Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. I think Zigaboo lives here in San Francisco, the drummer. So, it's just that the musical culture there is thick, and at every turn, you can't really. It just kind of gets into your music. It gets into the way you think. What would you say, Rob?
I mean, one thing that I always thought set New Orleans apart is that it's not really. I never think of it as like a scene so much as a community, because it's really just it's just a lot of people who are trying to play music and like pick each other up too. Like Dave's talking about George Porter, for example. He's a great example of somebody who is always willing to kind of play with and entertain younger musicians. And there's so much of like the old guard in that town a lot of them are really all about like picking up younger musicians and giving people opportunities to kind of cut their teeth and learn a thing or two and learn how to play, instead of saying like, no, you haven't paid your dues or whatever.
You've been where I've been.
Yeah, it's not like, oh,
like
you
that.
haven't. It's like, oh, you haven't been where I've been? Well, come
Here you go.
Yeah, you go. Get over here, buddy.
Well, the thing about New Orleans that I took in the few days that we were there is just it's music rich everywhere. I mean, we were there during Mardi Gras time.
Okay.
And, I had already heard a little bit about, you've got the second line, right?
Oh,
you guys join in on the second line? Can you explain what the second line is to anybody here who doesn't know what that is about?
Well, the second line's a tradition. It's, it's an old tradition, and it's some of it, you can do a second line for a celebration of life or death.
Yep.
So the second line funeral is a big thing. But that's, that's a tradition. It's steeped in brass bands, and, you do it funerals, weddings, but it's just, a kind of celebration of stuff. But it's all involved in instruments that you can walk around with. So if you ever see like Rebirth or Dirty Dozen or Soul Rebels or any of those brass bands, that kind of music is its origins from, music you can take down the street.
Walk around, yeah.
So, I know Rob and I have probably done some as horn players. But yeah,
I've done many a second line.
That's a thing that you should go look for those brass bands for. They do that really well.
You'd be in if there was a bass parade, huh?
There is a bass parade in New Orleans.
Yeah. Is there?
There used to be a bass parade. It was just bass players.
George is going to bring it back, 2018.
Awesome. So one of the things that my wife and I did is instead of doing some kind of traditional tour of the city, we both are bike enthusiasts.
All
So
right.
we jumped on our bikes, or we jumped on a bike tour and actually toured New Orleans on bikes, which was a very
Love
cool
that. It's a
way
great,
to do
great
it.
way to do it. Yeah.
One of the things that I think was kind of interesting about the way the two of you met is one of you was actually on a bike. Why don't you explain the meeting between the two of you?
You want to take it?
The bike story. The famed bike story. Yeah, it's true. I was riding my bike one fine summer day, home from class. I was going to Tulane at the time, and Dave was on his porch playing. Nobody was around. He was just playing, singing, as he is known to do. And I stopped to listen because it sounded really good, and he stopped playing. I'm like, man, don't stop playing. Sounds good. I stopped because you sound good. So he finishes the song, and he's like, do you play? I do. I played... Well, I messed that one up there at the end, but... yeah. Probably been shedding that Mississippi John Hurt a little more at the time. But yeah, so we struck up a convo and struck up a band.
And within a week, you were playing a kind of an interesting venue, if memory serves me correctly.
Checkpoint Charlie's, and then were you talking about Tipitina's or Checkpoint
Checkpoint
Charlie's?
Charlie's.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool. Well, how long was it before we had the gig at Tipitina's?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay, yeah, that was insane. Good job, Campy.
I believe it was George's band who we opened for.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks, George.
So, for a person like myself who has most, kind of realized who you guys were within the last year or so, I'm thinking, these guys, this stuff came quick for them. But that's not the truth, is it?
Took 10 years to become an overnight success.
Is that like Groucho Marx or something?
I don't know. I think I've heard it somewhere, but I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great expression because that's
Yeah.
really how it works. It's like there's just so much stuff behind the scenes that you don't see because why would you see it? You haven't heard of us yet.
Yeah.
Well, the song came rolling in one day, and Matt Pinfield and I were sitting in my office, and we listened to it, and both of us are looking at each other like, because we listen to a lot of music, and we both looked at each other like, I think there's something here. Like, these guys are really good. And we kept listening, like, we got to put this on the air. And before we knew it, you all here in the audience were saying, keep playing that song. So, and now...
Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much for that.
So you've been playing, one of the reasons we've been able to get you in here today is you're basically playing a residency throughout the whole Bay Area and the surrounding areas. So,
Yep.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come in here today and do this because, hey, what was the price of admission today?
Phone call. Hey, that's pretty cheap. That's what's up. Amazing.
So I hear New Orleans influence in your music. Obviously, you were saying it gets into you.
Yeah.
And so even though you're not from there, there's enough of it that's gotten into you, and I hear it in your music.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite songs off the record, I asked you to play it, if you don't mind, is called Fade Away. And there's so much blues and soul, and this is just such an amazing song. So would you guys mind playing that for us now?
Absolutely.
All right, let's hear it once again for the Revivalists.